Thank you so much.
Is this your first time to ask questions at a committee?
Yes, it is. Not my first committee appearance, but yes, my first asking of questions, so you should all be very afraid. Thank you, Chairman Scott, Ranking Member Gillibrand. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be among you on this committee, and let me just say, I know this has gone on for a little bit, and we're just really grateful that all of you were willing to show up today and testify. Thank you so much. This is an important hearing, especially for states like Florida. We have nearly 6 million residents that are over the age of 60, so we feel many of them living on a fixed income. So our residents certainly feel the effects of inflation, and this is a problem all across the nation, but certainly we are feeling it in Florida as well. We know that this has been caused certainly in part by the enormous spending that has taken place under the last administration. As Attorney General, I fought against agencies constantly, not just for overreaching policies, but sometimes spending decisions that I don't think were lawful either. And I think it all contributed to the excessive spending. I look forward to serving on this committee. I look forward to, I've enjoyed hearing not only your original testimony, but your responses to the questions. It's been incredibly helpful as one of the newest senators here in the United States Senate, number 99 to be exact. But one of the things, Mr. Antoni, that I heard you talk about, of course, your testimony included an analysis of how the spending has contributed to the rapid increase in inflation. But one of the things you talked about, it may have been in response to one of my colleagues' questions, was how the Fed might have also played a role in this, and certain monetary policy decisions may have played a role in this. And so I wanted to just ask you a few questions about that. Number one, do you believe that's the case?
Oh, absolutely, Senator. As one colleague of mine describes it, if Congress is the bank robber, the Fed is the getaway driver. So Congress is the one who initiates this excess spending, but then it is the Federal Reserve that finances it. And the way they do that is by simply creating money out of nothing, just simply ex nihilo. And the result of that is a dilution of the value of the dollar.
And do you believe currently there is enough transparency and accountability of the Fed?
Oh, not at all. Absolutely not, Senator. And one of the best ways to observe that, I think, is if you just simply follow their rhetoric around the time of the election. So significantly before the election, they were talking about how we're going to need much higher interest rates for a very long period of time. And then all of a sudden, right before the election, despite the fact that the underlying data had not changed, they all of a sudden completely changed their view that somehow we were going to get a lot of interest rate cuts and very quickly. And they actually did start cutting interest rates, and they started telling us that inflation was essentially solved. And then right after the election, they have once again changed their tune and gone back to saying inflation looks like it's going to be around a little bit longer, and we're going to have these higher interest rates for longer as well.
And certainly when those announcements were made about the interest rates coming down right before the election, there was no change in spending.
Correct. That's absolutely right, Senator. And so, again, to your point, the underlying problem here has not been solved, and yet the Federal Reserve treated it as if it was.
And what would be your suggestions or recommendations on how we might bring more transparency or oversight to the Fed?
I think probably the best way to make it transparent would be to simply get rid of it. But if you're going to have a central bank, I think you need to have much less government control over it. It needs to be the bank for bankers and not the bank for Congress.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Moody. Senator Brooks.
Thank you, and good afternoon to Chair Scott and